All right, if you got questions or comments, put them down below in the comments section. We'll be starting in just a minute. Okay. We got all three shows to talk about this week. Also, there was some X-Men news that dropped not too long ago. If you want to talk about that, feel free. In case you're joining us for the first time, oh, fuck off. That phone's been ringing all day. In case you're joining us for the first time tonight, this is where I talk about all the comic book shows for the past week, not counting the ones that I don't care for. Sorry, Walking Dead fans. The show is just not for me. So I talk about all the shows, I give my thoughts, review each one, and then we go to questions and comments where you guys get to sound off on anything you want to about the episode. And afterward, you get to talk about whatever you want. And I try to answer every question as best I can. And yeah, so let's get started for week 3 of the comic show season, starting with, as usual, The Flash. Season 2, Episode 2, Flash of Two Worlds. Jay Garrick appears from out of nowhere. We get his whole backstory, and wow, there is a lot of it. Then a new metahuman attacks, and Barry has to learn to trust Jay so they can work together and stop him, and save a police officer that he kidnapped, that being Spivot, Patty Spivot. And also, Joe's ex-wife shows up. There were a lot of Easter eggs here for comic fans. So many that it started to feel like overkill almost. In just one episode, there's Jay Garrick, Earth 2, the multiverse, and so on. Fans of the Flash comics may have been digging this, but for someone like me who doesn't read the comics, it felt like an awful lot of new information and new concepts to drop on the audience all at once. I think ideally you'd want to space these things out a little bit so the audience has time to digest one concept before you hit them with the next one. But it was like they were in a huge rush to get all this out there. Case in point, Jay Garrick. I like the actor. His performance was fine. If they wanted to make him a younger guy, I'm cool with that. It's not an issue for me if he's not old or older or whatever. My issue was the way they introduced him. We get this whole story of him being sucked into our dimension from a parallel universe where he's the Flash, and now he doesn't have his powers for some reason. It's all told to us very quickly. And just like with the black hole last week, it's exposited in this huge plot dump via a very rushed flashback over just a couple of minutes. And then that's out of the way, and we're on to a totally different thing with Sand Demon. And along the way, Jay also tells us his origin with another exposition dump, and there's just a ton of information to take in a really short amount of time. The pacing was all over the place here, because really, the whole story of Jay being the Flash in another dimension, getting sucked into this reality, losing his powers, spending 6 months trying to figure things out, that should have been a whole episode. They could have easily made a whole episode out of the origin of the Golden Age Flash on Earth 2 that ends with him getting sucked into another dimension, or at least devoted an entire episode to giving us that information But instead, we get it all in the first 5 minutes. The whole thing just felt incredibly rushed to me. And yeah, there were some weird plot holes here, too. For example, if Jay doesn't have his speed, then how the hell did he just walk into Star Labs without anyone knowing and surprise them like he did when they just told us that they had installed new super secret, like super security measures that would prevent people from doing this? Beats me. They never tell us. If they had taken their time with this a lot more, devoted an episode to just the Jay Garrick stuff, and saved the Sand Demon thing for next week, I think that this all would have worked a lot better, honestly. Speaking of Sand Demon, we had in this episode one of the biggest examples of writing and set decoration discontinuity that I've seen in some time. Jay is telling Team Flash about Sand Demon and his powers, how one of his big weaknesses is water. Jay's exact words, water causes him to literally fall apart. The very next scene, we see Sand Demon in his hideout, an old warehouse where there's water all over the place. There's water all over the floor, water dripping down from the ceiling. Wasn't he supposed to be avoiding this stuff? What the hell happened here? And then the water never even factors into the climax. They beat him in a way that's completely unrelated to water. Barry just throws some lightning at the guy and turns him to glass. The water never even factored in, so why did they even mention that in the first place? I don't know. Some other frustrating stuff. The thing with Cisco. Look, I like Cisco learning about his powers here. It seems like he's picking this up pretty quickly. That's nice. I also think it's a fun twist that the guy who is the biggest fanboy geek about superpower stuff is suddenly freaked out about having powers himself because of what Wells told him. But what's stupid about this is him not wanting anyone to know about it. Haven't Team Flash been through enough together that they wouldn't be keeping secrets like this anymore? What good is keeping this from them going to do? Just tell them the truth, you idiot, then they can help you. They know you, Cisco. They know you're not a bad guy. They're not going to lock you up and or kill you just because you have powers. So Harrison Wells told you some stuff about your future. So what? Didn't you learn from that whole ordeal that the future is not set in stone? I like that they're exploring the vibe stuff now, but man, Cisco keeping this a secret is just dumb. Let's talk about something good. Pivot. Patty Spivot. Patty Spivot. Yeah. I really like her already. The actress is very cool. Obviously, they're setting up something with her and Barry. They're not shy about that. And it looks like the Snowberry teases are going to be off and on, so I'm cool with this. Why is that? Because after just one scene together, you can see there's a definite connection between Barry and Patty. Just by the way the actors interact and play off each other, you can see, plain as day, there's an attraction and a potential for a romantic interest. And it's something that, in Barry's later conversation with Iris, is just not there. So this is yet another woman Barry has more chemistry with than Iris. That list of women is getting pretty long. Even though Iris is shown to understand Barry, seeing why he can't bring himself to trust Jay, she just comes off as more familial, like a sister or a best friend. Now, granted, we're only 2 episodes in so far, but this season, they have not revisited the Barry-Iris romance subplot thus far, and personally, I think both characters are much better for it. You really don't want... If you really want to make Iris a worthwhile character, she needs a storyline that does not involve her being someone's love interest, especially when that whole thing was one of the more problematic things in the first season. So let's move her away from that and give her something else to do. Although it is worth pointing out, that while Iris did understand what was going on with Barry during their conversation, she was being a massive bullshit artist when she says that Barry defeated Harrison Wells because he trusted the people around him. Really? Really, Iris? Is that what happened? Barry defeated Harrison Wells, right? Did Barry did that? That's funny, because as I recall, Eddie was the one who defeated Harrison Wells. Remember? Remember Eddie Thawne? That guy that you were dating, that you were in love with, supposedly? The guy who sacrificed himself to erase the Reverse Flash from existence? The way I remember it, it was Eddie who saved Barry's ass in that situation. So Barry defeating Harrison Wells? No, that's a bunch of crap. I know I know I'm sounding like I really hated this one here, but honestly, there were some fun things here too. Barry having trouble trusting Jay Garrick made sense. You know, he's paranoid because of what happened with Harrison Wells. That's logical. The two Flashes teaming up was cool, even though one was depowered. The Patty Spivot stuff came off very well. Professor Stein collapsing was presumably, part of the setup for Legends of Tomorrow, so that was cool. I also liked the end with Harrison Wells being alive in, I guess, one of the other universes. That was a fun tease as well. However, overall, I think this episode was poorly paced, trying to cram in way too much information way too quickly. And considering this was the first team up of Barry Allen and Jay Garrick, that's kind of a shame. So overall, I didn't think this one was all that good. Okay. Well, that's right. Can't see comments in here. Okay, 1 second. If you have any questions or comments about The Flash this week, put them down below in the comment section right now. This is your chance to sound off on that. Wow, no comments so far. That's interesting. We usually get a bunch by now. Or am I having trouble reading the comments on this one now too? Shit, that is entirely possible. Okay, crap. All right, we'll see what happens with that. Not much I can do about it at the moment. So, we will move on to Arrow for now. If you have questions or comments, put them in there, the comment section, and hopefully they'll show up here. I'm not sure what's going on. Didn't do anything differently. Well, hopefully this will work itself out. In the meantime, we will move on to Arrow for now. But if you have any, if the comments do show up eventually, I will answer everything. Anywho, Arrow, Season 4, Episode 2, The Candidate. An old family friend of the Queen's decides to run for mayor. After all of Star City's leadership was murdered last week. And it ends about as well as you would expect. Meanwhile, Felicity's first job as CEO of Palmer Technologies is having to lay off a bunch of people to save money, but then she decides not to because, fuck it, we'll figure something out. Then Oliver has the bright idea to run for mayor. And I have no earthly clue how he plans to make that work. Also, Laurel wants to put Sarah in the Lazarus pit, which you'd think would be really problematic at this point. More on that in a minute. Really good follow-up to the season premiere in this one. Some great fight scenes, of course, that goes without saying with Arrow by now. But my favorite stuff happened with the characters. We see Laurel not being annoying. We see that Quentin has dialed his irrational anger at Oliver back to a reasonable level. But the best stuff in this episode by far was the Thea storyline. This was great stuff right here. I love what they're doing with Thea right now because it's really made up for what felt like a big weakness in the third season when they said the Lazarus Pit would change her, and then she seemed pretty much the same person. Now we're finally seeing its effects. Thea's become so aggressive in the field that she's getting scary and irrational, and her impulse control is long gone. You know, she basically tortures this one dude, almost kills another guy by lighting him on fire, and then when Oliver finally tries to knock some sense into her, she completely flips out and attacks him. This was an awesome scene, and it was also the first time when I really bought that someone as small as her would be able to take down men twice her size, because she just launches herself at Oliver like a fucking animal, and it's really effective stuff. This is the kind of reaction you'd expect from someone being brought back from the brink of death by the Lazarus Pit. That's the kind of thing that should really fuck you up psychologically, and we're finally seeing it now. You know, they're doing a great job with it so far, and clearly Willa Holland is really relishing this too. She's doing a great job. So all this stuff, really good. Best stuff in the episode, easily. However, it did lead to perhaps the most unintentionally hilarious moment of the series since Laurel's disastrous first attempt at crime fighting in season 3. The end, when Laurel has the idea to put Sarah in the Lazarus Pit. First of all, they'd better have a really good explanation for how that works. Because Sarah's been dead for well over a year at this point, and realistically, there shouldn't be much left of her by now. I know we're talking about mystical comic book type stuff here, but there has to be a stage of decomposition and decay where the Lazarus Pit just doesn't work on someone anymore, because it just wouldn't be believable. I mean, we're talking about a really huge Deus Ex Machina here. You have to be very fucking careful with how you apply the rules, lest the whole thing feel like a cheap takeback. That wasn't the stupid part, though. The stupid part was when Laurel and Thea dig up Sarah's grave and open up her coffin, and somehow Sarah's body has not decayed or decomposed in the slightest. What? Again, it's been well over a year since Sarah was killed. She should be little more than a pile of bones with some scraps of rotting flesh hanging off it. But she looks like she's been dead for a week or two at most. Can someone please explain to me how that works? I'll wait and see how it all plays out, but they better have a... They better not mess this up. That's all I'm saying. Elsewhere, all the stuff with the friend running for mayor was good. I love Jerry Ryan, and you know she's always great. I wish she would stick around. And it does play into Oliver's story this season really nicely. He's trying to be a different type of person, a hero who inspires hope rather than fear. So you can see how this would plant the seed in his head that he would run for mayor himself, which I think was a thing in the Green Arrow comics, but I'm not sure because I don't read the Green Arrow comics. How he plans to pull that off, I have no idea. He has no qualifications, no political experience, didn't even finish college as I understand it, and prior to the island, he had a history in the tabloids of being little more than a spoiled rich punk. Now, all that stuff may not matter if no one's running against him, but after what happened with Jerry Ryan's character, who could blame them? But nevertheless, this is going to be a pretty hard sell on Oliver's part. The Felicity story was probably the least interesting for me, for the same reason why the B-plots on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. last week felt a bit out of place. You know, there's much more dire stuff going on, so Felicity having to fire some employees just didn't seem that important by comparison. You know, her deciding not to fire anyone on the off chance that her and Mr. Terrific can find a way to make the company profitable in the near future is admirable, but it's not exactly practical. It did serve as a good introduction for the guy who will become Mr. Terrific, though. a character from the comics that I know absolutely nothing about, so I can't speak for what kind of adaptation this is. But the actor seems likable enough. The characters play off each other very nicely, so no complaints with him. But I do really hope that at some point they address the situation that Felicity finds herself in right now. She was, she was a girl from the IT department who magically got promoted to executive vice president of the company despite having no discernible business experience, around the same time that she started a romantic relationship with the CEO, who then ends up dead right after he signs some documents naming her as his successor. I would be very disappointed if this didn't at least cause a few raised eyebrows, because regardless of how it happened, to an outside observer, it would look really fucking suspicious. That's all I'm saying. And then the flashback. Oliver's mission on Lian Yu is to ingratiate himself to these assholes that are there now, make them trust him, and he does this so easily, it's almost comical. One of their men ends up dead. Apparently, Oliver was there when it happened, and without even investigating this or really questioning Oliver at all, they practically throw the dead guy's job at him. Just like that, huh? Wow, that seemed incredibly easy on Oliver's part. Almost so much that it strained credibility. So anyway, there were a few elements here that you had to take with a grain of salt, like how someone such as a huge machine, like how someone got a huge machine gun into a mayoral press conference, mounted it, set it up on auto fire, and then got the hell out of there without anyone noticing. Did security in that place just really suck? I guess so. But if you can disregard those things, there is a strong episode here, highlighted by some really great stuff with Thea, and also some great fight scenes, but like I said, that goes without saying on Arrow at this point. So there were a few issues, but generally, really good episode here. And do we have comments yet? Oh, fuck, they're not showing up. This is a problem. Come on. Nope, here they are. Okay. Okay, hold on. I'll tell you what, keep asking all your Flash questions. I will cover those at the end. I'm going to do the Arrow stuff first. And let's see. All right, that gaming asshole. I have no idea why they have an issue with killing Anarchy, considering that he's a remorseless murderer and terrorist. The world becomes measurably better when he dies. I mean, for fuck's sake, just put a bullet in the bastard. The Lazarus Pit was originally created to resurrect a dead Egyptian prince, so I'm pretty sure it just regenerates any kind of dead tissue, no matter the state. In fact, I believe the comics established once that a blood sample is sufficient to rebuild a person completely, or something like that. Did Sarah ever use Mirakuru? Maybe she deteriorated more slowly because of it. Okay. All right, well, they have an issue with killing Anarchy because killing him would be against the law. And Oliver is trying to... He's trying to be a hero that inspires hope, and to do that, he kind of has to stay within the law. And killing, so that means he can't kill people. Would the world be a safer place without this guy who will become Anarchy? Probably, but he hasn't really become Anarchy yet. We don't really know what he's capable of yet. So letting him live, well, they may regret that decision later on, but we're not there yet. Okay, so in the comics, apparently, the Lazarus Pit can resurrect you from any flesh remaining, no matter how small an amount. Apparently, you can get away with that in the comics. On a live-action TV show, it's more complicated than that. It becomes harder to suspend your disbelief. For me, it's like, well, at this point, there really shouldn't be a whole lot of flesh left. And how can you regenerate from that? I guess they get around that by saying that she just hasn't decomposed for some reason. I'm like 99% sure that Sarah never took the Mirakuru. Excuse me. So that's not that explanation won't fly. Why hasn't she decayed at all? I don't know. Maybe this is one of those things where you're just gonna say, "Oh, it's TV," as if that's a good excuse. It's not. That might be the only excuse we get. Gore492. I just found out from my friend who works in the army. Apparently, you can last 10 years without decaying. Before I knew this, I was completely saying what you were saying about Sarah's body not being decayed. 10 years? 10 years? Seriously? I wonder if sometimes I wonder if sometimes like an undertaker can like treat a corpse with chemicals to make it decay slower, but they never really took Sarah to an undertaker. I mean, she never even had an official funeral. 10 years without decomposing? Seriously? That doesn't sound right. I don't know, man. That sounds cagey to me. NJ, thanks for recommending Arrow. Season 1 was a blast to watch. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1 is going great too. The characters are all likable so far. Cool. I got NJ turned on to Arrow. We were talking on Twitter earlier. He just finished season 1, and I told him, he told me, oh, I was expecting more sad deaths and cliffhangers and stuff. Just wait. That's coming in season 2. It's a Flash question. Let's see. The Save Me one. If they call Felicity Oracle, I will be pissed. There is only one Barbara Gordon, and with all due respect to Felicity Smoke, that isn't her. Yeah, Felicity wants a code name. I'm really hoping they wouldn't call her Oracle. So I'm with you on that. I think they were calling I think they were calling Chloe on Smallville Oracle at one point. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. That always got on my nerves. Just because you can do comic book reference doesn't mean it's appropriate. So it would be cool if Felicity got a code name, but I hope if she does, I hope it would not be Oracle. Hope they can come up with something else. Put Cisco on that one. He's good with nicknames. Okay. Raiden682. Thea is becoming more and more like Jason Todd. And by the way, Laurel, please don't go back to stupid decisions again. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, I guess there are some Jason Todd comparisons here. And yeah, Laurel's been a lot more likable so far this season. But they kind of started her on that path, in the second half of season 3 rather. But it's carrying over. She has not annoyed me so far, and let's keep that going for as long as we can. That gaming asshole. I love how Mr. Terrific says he created a computer program to give employees more money from a company that is losing money. Huh? What? Yeah, that doesn't sound entirely legal, does it? Something shady about that. At any rate, Mr. Terrific is considerably different. He's an extremely arrogant kind of Batman billionaire guy who uses stealth technology and drone attacks to fight crime. Kind of like a futuristic ninja of a sort who uses technology. Wow, so they really they really went outside the comics here, didn't they? He still uses tech, but yeah, he's not arrogant. Apparently, not rich. Futuristic ninja? Not that I can see. Yeah, they really took some liberties with this guy, didn't they? Yeah, Felicity does look pretty bad here. I guess everyone just thinks she's a bimbo who looked out. I wouldn't put it exactly like that, but it is kind of, it will be really strange if no one points out how she became the CEO of this company. Because, I mean, if you look at it as an outside observer, it looks fishy as hell. That giving asshole. I get that it's against the law, but if he did get set on fire, I'm not hurrying to help him out, or crying hard, or thinking more than a few seconds about it afterward. In fact, I'd probably sleep like a baby. Yes, it is the law, but he's a delusional psychopath. Fuck this guy. Yes, but you're thinking from the perspective of a comic fan who knows what this guy is capable of. Remember, for Team Arrow, this is the first time they've ever run into this guy, and really all he's done is kidnap someone and fire off a gun as a distraction. He could be capable of much worse things, but as far as they know, he hasn't done those things yet. Okay. Keep your questions coming. Once again, I will get to everything. But at this is the time where we move on to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then we'll answer S.H.I.E.L.D. questions, and then anything else. Come on. Okay. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3, Episode 3, A Wanted Inhuman. Lincoln is running for his life, trying to avoid the ATCU who are hunting him. Coulson tries to cut a deal with Rosalind Price, which works out for him, but not for Lincoln so much. Meanwhile, Hunter tries to get his foot in the door with the Hydra recruiters via an underground English fight club. And Simmons is trying to readjust to being back on Earth, but has enough PTSD to fill an entire psych ward. And shockingly reveals that she needs to go back to Death by Punishment world at the end of the episode. Dun, dun. Last week's episode was affected a little bit by two B plots that didn't really feel like they belonged in the same episode as the A plot. And they were paced differently, so it made for a wonky episode at certain points. This week, that's not a problem, with the recurring theme of characters dealing with trauma and stress and trying to cope with that and failing for the most part. So the Lincoln and Simmons plots have a lot in common here. And then there's the stuff with Hunter and May, which is entertaining in a totally different way. But what really impressed me about this episode was that it managed to be both very heartbreaking and really funny at the same time. In fact, there are two scenes here that have some of the funniest bits that this show has done in a while. There's the meeting with Coulson and Rosalind Price, where the writers managed to somehow pack about 3 episodes like 3 episodes worth of hand puns into one scene. Because Coulson's got the artificial hand now, and Rosalind apparently has this dry sense of humor, so she's not going to leave that alone. And these two have kind of similar personalities, actually. So when they start bouncing zingers off each other, it's just one pun after another, and it's hilarious. I love the banter they've got going, and there's some real chemistry between these two, and the actors and the characters. The Felinda people may not like it, but I'm actually really digging the idea of Coulson and Rosalind Price having a thing here. This is interesting to me. Let's explore this. So yeah, I really dug that. Also, funny, the scene where Hunter is talking to these guys at some English pub, trying to get close to like a Hydra recruiter or something, and they start talking in such broken, drunken English that they actually have subtitles for it. Oh God, I almost fell out of my fucking chair. May says, "Oh great, like you guys weren't hard enough to understand before." And then they get drunk. There's all the fucking subtitles. Oh, crap. It's such a bizarre non sequitur because it came completely out of fucking nowhere. Oh jeez. But as far as this plan is concerned, I'm not sure Hunter thought this through all the way. He needs to attract the eye of Hydra by doing well in this Fight Club situation, and he proceeds to just get his ass whooped while these 3 guys take May into another room where she completely destroys them, and then Hunter beats the guy with brass knuckles, which I think is against the rules of Fight Club, or at least it's frowned upon. But Hydra loved that shit. So he gets his foot in the door with Ward's lieutenant dude, I think Kivo is his name, looking like a bloody fucking mess. So Hunter is nothing if not committed. So yeah, really funny stuff with that. But it was balanced out by these other 2 plots that were actually quite sad. Lincoln takes the spotlight here. Lincoln's still on the run with the ATCU hot on his trail because now that the president has formally endorsed them, they have to produce results. So the pressure's on them to round up these alien threats. I would suggest that hunting down Lash instead would be a better use of their time and energy than tracking a doctor who just wants to be left alone, but maybe they don't have a lead on Lash yet. Odd, since I would think Lash would stand out in a crowd. But Lincoln is getting increasingly desperate to evade these people. He calls the only friend he has, apparently, and here's where it gets interesting. We get a lot of information about Lincoln here. Drinking problem, suicidal tendencies, probably suffered from depression in the past, and you give a character a backstory like that, it makes me like him a lot very quickly. I've never really talked about this before, but I've had to deal with depression myself, so that engenders a lot of sympathy from me. Because I feel your pain, Lincoln. I've been there myself. And we get just enough time with this friend of his to learn that he trusts Lincoln, he believes in Lincoln, and that Lincoln believes that this is a guy he can always count on. And it's implied that this man is Lincoln's AA sponsor. They don't say it, but it's heavily implied. Which just makes his instant betrayal the second he sees Lincoln's face on the news all the more devastating. Like, he sees that, and then instantly he's got a bat ready. He's like, don't you fucking move, Jesus Christ, no wonder Lincoln's got trust issues. Good Lord. And then it goes from bad to worse when Lincoln uses his powers to disarm the guy, just wants to take the weapon off the guy. All he wants to do is leave. But then the dude has a heart attack right there in the fucking room. And just, wow, bad time for a heart attack. I mean, there's never a good time for a heart attack, but Jesus Christ, that was bad timing right there. And Lincoln can't even save him. So he accidentally caused this man's death, thus inadvertently confirming to himself what the news was saying about him. And then another gut punch when, at his most desperate point, he finally calls S.H.I.E.L.D. for help. Daisy is just making a breakthrough with him, makes him think he can trust them for just one moment, and then that blows up in his face too when Coulson cuts a deal with Rosalind Price to keep Daisy out of their crosshairs at the expense of giving them Lincoln. So this poor bastard Lincoln just cannot catch a fucking break. It does a great job of making you want to sympathize with him, want to root for him. You get the sense that this is a person with a really troubled past, a lot of self-loathing. It's a far cry from the Lincoln we met in Afterlife last season with the Inhumans. I would venture a guess that that was the first time Lincoln had ever really felt like he belonged somewhere, had ever really been happy somewhere. He devoted himself to something. He drank the Kool-Aid. He believed in what they told him and what they were doing, and then it all turned out to be a lie, and it all blew up in his face. And now, he's carrying that baggage around. Now he doesn't want to believe in anything, not S.H.I.E.L.D., not even himself. And he's very quick to believe the worst about himself now. And, the second he tries to believe that S.H.I.E.L.D. want to help him, he gets knocked down again. It's a really great character building story here for Lincoln. My one nitpick is that I wish there had been a little more focus on his grief and guilt after his friend died. They had to get through that quickly because of time constraints and whatnot, but for the time they had, I thought they accomplished a lot here. It was the first episode to spotlight Luke Mitchell since he joined the cast, and I thought he handled it all very well. As did Elizabeth Henstridge in her storyline. Something about season 2 that I was a little let down by was that the Simmons character development was not given as much attention as I was hoping for. I think I mentioned a few times last season that Simmons was going through a lot of stuff. And I was so sure that she had some big emotional breakdown coming when she would get that all off her chest. And that never happened. There were several deleted scenes that helped with that, and helped kind of flesh out her arc for that season. And I really wish they kept those scenes in because those did fill in some blanks. But she never got that moment where it all became too much for her and she finally let herself fall apart. Now, this is a character that has a habit of keeping a lot of stuff in anyway. That's been well established with Simmons since early in season 1, but nobody can do that forever. Add the fact that she just went through something really traumatic on that alien world, and she's kind of hanging by a thread right now. So that's why I was very, very happy to see them addressing her PTSD immediately. Her bodily functions are all messed up. She had some traumatic experiences that have made her really jumpy and paranoid and fear and constantly in fear for her life. And it's kind of like a soldier who comes home and has trouble readjusting to normal life because they've gotten so used to being in life and death situations that suddenly they don't know how to function without that constant state of stress and fear. Because being normal suddenly no longer feels normal for them. Elizabeth Henstridge is great in these scenes. A lot of little things she does with her body language and her posture and stuff like that just really drive home how fragile and damaged this experience has made her. It's an interesting parallel to what May went through after the Bahrain incident, actually. They both went through some horrifying experiences that left them with some pretty major psychological scars. But whereas May reacted by closing herself off from everyone, including Andrew, which led to their marriage falling apart, Simmons kind of does that, but then has the opposite reaction. And she's relying on Fitz a lot more than she ever did to help her, showing how much those two have learned from their estrangement last season. And that's probably a much healthier reaction for her to have. And that means, much to my delight, that there was a lot of Fitzsimmons cuteness in this episode. Fitz is helping her get around the base, and they're holding hands, and they even get to go on their date finally. Awesome! I didn't think that would happen until the end of the season. And, Fitz really pulls out all the stops here. He held the reservation for months. He even got the restaurant cleared out so she would feel safe. He's getting major boyfriend points here. There is some incredibly sweet stuff between them in this scene, even though the date ended in tears, which in my opinion was a good thing. That was Simmons finally breaking down a little bit, finally letting out some of the stuff she'd been bottling up. This is something that she's needed to do since last season. So even though it was a very sad moment when she got overwhelmed and started crying, it was very emotionally cathartic at the same time. It's adorable and touching and heartbreaking all at the same time. And man, my God, Elizabeth Henstridge is so fucking good in this scene. She's great in this whole episode. Holy shit! But yeah, they were really spoiling us so much with the Fitzsimmons closeness here that I couldn't help but feel suspicious. I knew there had to be some kind of dick punch coming up to ruin this, to throw a big monkey wrench into the works there. And then the stinger happens. For some reason, Simmons has to go back. She has to find a way to fix the monolith and go back to death by punishment world. What? That's the cliffhanger they leave us on. I'm not sure why she would need to go back, but my brain's going to some weird places here. So, you see, I told you there would be more stuff with that alien planet coming up. I told you. And there is. Well, I think the climax of last week's episode with the big Simmons rescue sequence is going to be very difficult to top. The A and B plots gelled better here. It made for a very emotionally effective episode. It had some great backstory for Lincoln and created a really sympathetic character with him. The way they dealt with Simmons' PTSD was very touching and well handled, with a terrific WTF cliffhanger at the end. Also, I really like the twist with Coulson offering to work with the ATCU in order to keep them off of Daisy's back. Because you think they were going to be really adversarial, but then the twist, and okay, they're maybe working together. All right. Plus, it means we get more of Coulson and Rosalind Price playing off each other, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. But this is going to have the consequence of Lincoln getting screwed over yet again, which could cause some tension between Coulson and Daisy, and that's something that they haven't really explored on the show yet. And of course, Hunter and May in an English fight club. You really can't go wrong with a scenario like that. Poor Hunter. He really got the shit beaten out of him. So yeah, short version, like this episode a lot. It was really good. You want me? So let me try something here. Oh wait, here we go. At the comments on the desktop. Holy shit! How'd that happen? Don't know. Guess I won't need the laptop this time. It's weird. I just reloaded the page and then there they all were. That's weird. Okay. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. questions. Gore492. Seeing those goons try to hit on May and beat her up may have been one of the funnier things I've seen. Oh, yeah, those poor bastards. Nah, they were really asking for it, weren't they? I'm still waiting for the day when May picks a fight with someone that she can't beat. I think it's about time for that. We're at this stage of the game. You just assume May is going to win every fight just because she's May. I've talked about this before, but I think we're at a point where May needs to lose a fight, just because nobody would be expecting it at this point. Not saying it should happen by just some random dude, but pick a character and have and make it mean something when she loses, like Taskmaster. In my headcanon, the first fight she loses would be against Taskmaster. Because, I mean, they're doing a fucking Hydra storyline. You gotta have Taskmaster at some point. Just saying. Excuse me. Okay, that gaming asshole. This episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of dragged along. Really? Wow. It seemed mainly they were getting their ducks in a row, establishing people and situations and the like. Okay, yeah. Probably more of a bridging episode for stuff that's going to happen later. I still thought it was there was some really good stuff here, though. Establishing people and situations and the like. I get that Lincoln was being chased and stuff, but I kind of don't care. I wanted more new Inhumans or whatever. I believe that'll be coming next week. Yeah, check the preview. I mean, Lash is back next week, so he's hunting Inhumans. So I think you'll get your wish. And plus, I mean, Lincoln is still a pretty new character in his own right. I mean, we didn't get a whole lot of stuff with him last season. I mean, he was there to service the plot, but I mean, he's still a pretty new character. I like Price, I guess, and the Hunter thing was funny, but otherwise just setup. Having watched Gordon Ramsay for years, I understand everything. I wouldn't mind a small Asian girl destroying a guy in front of me, Hunter, but then again, I've been in love with Min-Mei since I was 10. Still am. Min-Mei, huh? From Robotech? Min-Mei, really? Dude, I always found her kind of annoying. That's strange. I'll take Lisa Hayes over Min-Mei. If it's a choice, yeah. Much lower maintenance. And not nearly as flaky. I kind of don't care about Fitz and Simmons much, but mainly because I can't see any possible endgame here other than her either getting powers or going back to the other world with Fitz. Anything else would be a huge anticlimax. Oh, I think you're underestimating them. There are a number of possibilities here. I'm not sure what they are, but these are creative people. I would expect the whole subplot on the alien world to factor pretty heavily into the rest of the season. I mean, they've more or less confirmed that already. Okay. The Save Me one. Looks like they may be building up to Coulson and Daisy being on different sides of the Civil War argument. That would not surprise me at all. I think if you're going to be doing Civil War tie-ins, you want it to create conflict and drama. They're two of the closest people. I mean, they've got sort of a surrogate father-daughter relationship at this point. So I would, if you want to milk this for maximum effect, I would definitely expect them to be on different sides when that becomes a thing. Plus, like I said, we really haven't seen a lot of conflict between those two yet. We're in the third season, and they're as close as they've ever been. So I think it's time to throw a monkey wrench in there and screw those two up for a little bit and see how they react to that. Interesting seeing how the only time we have ever seen these two at odds with each other was back in season 1, after Coulson and May caught Daisy leaking information to her then boyfriend. Yeah, that was before they really had built up any trust. Once they got all the cards on the table with Daisy, they really bonded, and they've stayed that way. So I think it's definitely time to kind of mess that relationship up a little bit. The Save Me one. Every superhero show seems to have that one character people don't like. Gotham has Barbara, The Flash has Iris, Arrow has Laurel. I think Lincoln is going to be that character on S.H.I.E.L.D. The guy has come across like a whiny little brat in every scene he's been in so far in season 3. Huh. Really? Wow. Well, in Lincoln's defense, I think he's had a lot to whine about. I mean, we haven't learned a ton about him just yet, but we know that his whole life kind of fell apart when the Inhumans thing went down last season. Uh, he devoted himself to that. It blew up in his face. So he tries to build a life for himself away from all the Inhuman stuff, and then that falls apart too. So, has he been whining a little bit? Arguably, yes. I would suggest that he has a lot to whine about. So I'm not really holding that against him. Plus, we're talking about a guy who has suffered from depression in the past, like was strongly implied. I'm inclined to cut this guy a lot of slack because, again, I sympathize with that. Jacob Walton, I enjoyed the Fitzsimmons this week. Elizabeth and Ian continue to shine. Totally agree. And I like how Simmons' PTSD is going thus far. Half the time I'm worried she's going to snap and try to kill someone at some point. I also think she's going back to help the other people she found on that planet that may have helped her while she was there. That is one theory. We know they were sending people. Yeah, they were sending people to that planet in the flashback last week. So there very well could be human people on that planet. Maybe even a colony of some sort. The press release for episode after next, which is the one where Simmons is going to reveal what happened to her on that planet, has one person listed in the guest cast. I think it's reasonable to assume that this person is playing someone who was on that planet with her. So it's reasonable to assume that there were other people there, unless he's playing a Kree or some other alien. So I think this is entirely possible. That was one of the things I thought of first. That was one of my early theories. I also think she's going. Plus, May and Hunter is a great comedic duo as well. And Hunter took an F5 and has slammed through a table only to win with the brass knuckles. William Regal would be proud. Yeah, Hunter took a lot of punishment here. Great selling from that guy too. He sells better than Velvet Sky does. William Regal would be proud. Overall, good episode and looking forward to Lash next week. Oh yeah. Can't wait to get more with Lash. I love what they did with him in the premiere, and I can't more to find out what he's doing. If he's anything like his character in the comics, who would hunt down new Inhumans and kill them if he deems them unworthy, this is going to lead to some really interesting stuff too. Plus, a guy that absorbs energy and redirects it, that's pretty much the worst person possible for Lincoln and Sky to run, and Daisy to run into. So, yeah. Jacob Walton, thoughts on S.H.I.E.L.D. this week? I enjoyed the backstory with Lincoln, even though he was acting foolish at times in trying to run. I'm not really sold on Lincoln and Daisy's relationship. Okay. Sure, they teased it in season 2, but I think the kiss was Daisy's way of calming him down and thanking him for helping her and showing that she cares. Yeah, that's all I read into it too. They're definitely teasing a relationship between these two, but I think her kissing him was really just to try to convince him that he could trust her. It's like, well, I got to get through to the guy somehow, and that's what did it, because he has a penis, and that usually does the trick. But I'm not sold on them being in love yet. Oh, I don't think they're in love. I think they're attracted to each other. I think there may be some burgeoning feelings there, but love, no, not yet. It's too soon for that. Coulson and Price's interactions were priceless, and I gotta hand it to them. See what I did there? Yes, I did see what you did. I actually made that exact same joke in an email I sent to a podcast that I listened to. Um, I digress. But yeah, I never laughed so hard in this entire show with these two interacting with each other. And I hope you're right. If she named the car Steve, if she named her car Steve just to piss off Coulson. So I'm glad they'll be working together for this season. Yeah, yeah, we talked about that on Twitter. Um, I suggested that she should name the car Steve because the Captain America fan in Coulson would be so conflicted. That'd be funny if she did that, wouldn't it be? That'd be great. The Save Me one. Looks like Simmons may be getting some kind of powers with all the sensitivity she was showing towards vibrations and stuff. Uh, eh, you know, I'm not ruling it out, but I think I would think not. Well, the initial tagline for the series was "Not all heroes are super," and now we've got two main characters with powers. I think two is enough. Any more than that, and you start to it starts getting a little ridiculous. I think it's better for the show that most of these agents don't have powers. Um, I think overall with her being like all like kind of light and sound sensitive, it was just a case of trying to reacclimate to a different environment because that was part of the problem when she came back. They were talking about this in the beginning that her bodily functions are all screwed up now because of the different environment that she had gotten accustomed to. Uh, yeah, and that does happen sometimes. I remember, yeah, a while back, I got sick and I got like really sensitive to noise. Um, so I would have like a lot of it was like a sinus thing where I had like a lot of pressure built up around like this area, and like even like the like noises really bothered me. Like even the sound of my own voice was physically painful to listen to. Doesn't necessarily mean she's developing powers like super senses like Daredevil or anything. Could just mean she's sick. You know that does happen. Um, I'm not ruling it out that she's gained powers, but I would suspect not. The Save Me one. My shipping guess is Andrew left May because he knows she has a thing for Coulson. But by the time she returns, Coulson will be having a fling with Rosalind Price. I don't think so. You know, honestly, I've never really gotten a romantic vibe from May and Coulson. Excuse me. I mean, there's a closeness, there's a camaraderie between them, but romantic vibe. I know a lot of people ship those two together, but I never have. Not really. I see them as just really close friends because we know they were at the academy together, so they've known each other for ages. I just don't get a romantic vibe between them. I don't think Andrew does either. I mean, we saw in the Bahrain flashbacks last season, um, where he seemed totally at ease with the two of them working together, and there was no tension there. I don't think that has anything to do with it. But yeah, they did say in this episode that well, they implied that the reason May was not with Andrew at the moment, or well, she did go on vacation with him, but things didn't work out, and now they weren't together. Is they implied that he left her, so maybe she tried to do the normalcy thing, and it just didn't work out, and she couldn't. She didn't have it in her to change that much. Maybe she's not healed from the Bahrain trauma as much as she thought she was. Maybe that's something you just don't recover from, and I think that's going to be part of May's arc is continuing to heal from that trauma and try to recover as best she can from it. And maybe she won't be able to. You know, I mean, clearly she hit a stumbling block here, and that's why her and Andrew are on the outs again. Maybe him getting captured by Hydra will force her to try a little harder. We don't know. The Save Me One. I'm glad to see Alicia, aka Multiple Woman, returning next week. Here's hoping she will be one of the Secret Warriors. Oh, is that her? I know there was a redhead in the promo for next week. Was that the same girl from last season? Multiple Woman, was that her? I didn't know that was the same girl. Oh, I should have watched that. I should have watched that promo more closely. Oh, cool. I liked her a lot. That's nice. I didn't know if they would bring her back. That's cool. Awesome. I think I'm excited now. Great. Okay, got my hero stuff. The Save Me One. A lot of people are guessing that Simmons wants to go back to that planet because there could be other humans there that need to be rescued, or maybe another guy she may want to get to. The thought has crossed my mind. I want to think it's going to be something else, because if anything, I mean, she seems more into Fitz than she ever has before right now. I suppose there is the possibility that maybe she met some guy on this planet, and due to being caught up in a really intense, desperate, extreme situation, she developed complex feelings for this guy, and she just couldn't help herself. I suppose that's possible. I don't know, but they've been really good on this show about avoiding, dumb love triangles so far, and I want to keep that going. So I guess it's possible, but again, I think it's something else. I'm just not sure what. Gore492. One thing I missed this week was Ward scenes. Interested to see what the interaction will be with Ward and Hunter when they finally confront one another. Yeah. This Hunter's got a big score to settle. I'm not sure if him confronting Ward is going to work out so well. I think in a one-on-one fight, smart money would be on Ward. I think Hunter would be able to give him put up a good fight, but ultimately, Ward would probably come out on top in that encounter. But Hunter's pretty clever, pretty cunning, so you never know. The Save Me One. Technically, Daisy beat May last season. Technically. Thing is, Daisy cheated, though. She had to use her powers. What I'm talking about is May losing a straight-up one-on-one fight with no powers. If she just picks a fight with somebody who is just that much of a badass fighter that he or she is better than her and beats her in a fair fight. That's what I want to see. If someone uses their superpowers to beat May, that doesn't count because they have an unfair advantage. But the way they built up May is that in a fair fight, it's like nobody can beat her. I want to see a fair fight where she loses and then see how she reacts. That's what I want. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So let's get to everything else. Gonna get some flash questions that I didn't see beforehand. So let's do those. Okay. The Save Me One. I hated Caitlyn in this episode of The Flash. Ronnie, the man she was married to for only one day, is dead, and she's already floating up Jay Garrick. Give me a break. Yeah, that kind of bugged me too. I kind of gave them a pass on that one just because this is supposed to be 6 months later. And she'd already gone through the process of grieving for Ronnie in season 1. Then he came back, and he went through this period where he was insane, and they didn't know if they were going to be able to save him. And then he comes back, and he's himself again for a very brief time, and then he dies again. So I would think she's already kind of run through the grieving process, and it was just a matter of having to do it again. and maybe it wasn't so bad this time, and maybe getting over it was easier for her this time because she's already done it before. I don't know. Opinions may vary on that. And like I said, it did annoy me a little bit. But I don't know. I gave them a free pass, but if it continues, I may sour on that pretty quickly. So I'm not disagreeing with you on that one. Yeah. Let's see, that gaming asshole. I believe the water thing is because his lightning wouldn't be powerful enough without it. Like a match can't burn a house down, but a match in gasoline can turn it into a crater. All right. But we're not talking about water as a conductor for electricity. We're talking about how water was supposed to make Sand Demon's body fall apart, and that didn't happen. You know, the lightning didn't interact with the water. The lightning turned him to glass. You know, like the water played no part in defeating that guy. So I wonder why they even bothered bringing it up. Let's see, oh, water makes him fall apart. Oh, here he is hiding out in a place filled with water. You know, that makes about as much sense as what the fuck was it? Signs. Oh, the aliens can't stand water. Water kills them almost instantly. So hey, let's invade a planet mostly made of water. You know, it's just it's out of whack. You know. That gaming asshole. In the comics, as of the New 52, Barry left Iris and is hooked up with Hot Pursuit Patty Spivot. But previously, they were in a love triangle with Barry. Okay. So Iris left, huh? Well, Barry left Iris. Well, whatever. Okay, so maybe they can deviate from the comics here. I would be all for that at this point. Gore492, I love Patty Spivot. One episode in, she seems way more interesting than Iris already. Yeah, she and Barry have a really fun banter going on, don't they? I love their... They were doing that reference to, I think, Lord of the Rings, and then they both do like the same impression at the same time. That was really cute. You know, he doesn't do stuff like that with Iris. They don't react the same way to that stuff. You know, I like Patty Spivot a lot too. I hope she sticks around for a while. Jacob Walton, heard Mark Hamill as the Trickster will return this season. So I'll be glad to see him again. What do you think he'll do this time? Oh, what does he do? Man, I don't even care as long as he's there. Mark Hamill was fucking awesome last season. He was one of my favorite guest stars that they had, if not like my most favorite. He was great. If he's coming back, that's awesome. That gaming asshole. Hot Pursuit, I'm calling her that because Spivot is too weird, is so awesome. One episode in, and I'm in love. This may be the new Felicity. Well, you never know. Never know. Okay. All right. Gore492. I'm still trying to figure out how Oliver will stay committed to being mayor if elected. Yeah. You got to figure that if there's a crisis that happens in the city, you know, the mayor will be needed, you know, doing mayor type stuff. I mean, I don't know how he's going to be the mayor and Green Arrow at the same time. That said, I don't know how the hell Felicity is able to be the tech support for Team Arrow and the CEO of a major multinational corporation at the same time. You know, where is she getting the free time to do all this stuff? Where the hell is Oliver going to find the free time to do all this stuff? I think this is one of those instances where you have to just kind of you have to just kind of throw up your hands and say it's TV. They can just do it because it's TV. Although I'm with you, I don't know how the hell they're going to do that. That gaming asshole. Oh yes, in my continuing one-paragraph reviews of Gotham and Heroes, the dude Gallivant, who is leading the villains on Gotham, is running for mayor and forced Penguin to kill his competition. Oh, he's running for mayor, huh? Okay. He kidnapped his mom and then killed her, apparently. Whoa, he killed Penguin's mom? Oh, he's not going to take that very well. Dude, he had an attachment to his mom that bordered on Oedipus complex, so that's... Oh, shit. His daughter also was putting the moves on Bruce. Preteen Bruce, really? I'm pretty sure she's supposed to be Talia al Ghul, and Gallivant is actually Roz. Also, the new police commissioner formed a secret strike force led by Jim Gordon to kill the Penguin. Huh. 8 out of 10, way better than last season. Huh, no fool. 8 out of 10, really? You know, what little I've seen of Gotham has been, somewhat of an improvement from last season, but I don't know. It's going to take a lot of convincing for me to give that show another chance. A lot of convincing. On Heroes, Weather Girl and Invisible Lass are trekking through Canada. Teleporter Boy is apparently adopted, and I think he's the son of the guy who can erase memories with pennies somehow. Knives Chow and Not Pilgrim are trying to get their sword back, and I believe she's related to Hero somehow. Also, Molly's dead, meaning that we'll never see her in that skimpy dress again. Damn. Oh, boy, this got uncomfortable. When I think Molly Walker, I think that little girl in, Heroes Season 1 and 2. Yeah, I don't know. Thinking of her in this capacity is kind of creepy. I have no idea what Zachary Levi is doing, but apparently his wife didn't know he had sun powers until now, which is weird since he shoots lasers whenever he's in the sun. Meh, 5 out of 10, not great, but okay. I have not seen the new Heroes Reborn that aired tonight. I might try to track that down when I'm done here. But yeah, I think he... but yeah, I mean, she didn't know he had powers because he just got them, I think. I mean, he literally just developed them, and then she found out not long after. Let's see. That gaming asshole. By the way, in the comics, Hot Pursuit, Patty Spivot is a speedster who absorbs energy and uses it to power up a motorcycle from the future, which travels at FTL speeds. Well, they have time travel. They have done time travel on this show. I guess she could get a futuristic motorcycle at some point. Not sure how she'd control that. Wouldn't she need super fast reflexes to control a super fast motorcycle? I don't know. The Save Me One. What do you think of Marvel making the Damage Control sitcom series? Seems like a really weird property to adapt to a TV show. I mean, if it was my call, I think there would be several properties I'd want to do before Damage Control. I've never read the Damage Control comics. It is an interesting idea, though. Making it a comedy, like a single camera comedy. That's interesting. They haven't done that yet. I think it could be worth trying. Because, I mean, you got superpowers, and superheroes and villains causing damage all over the fucking place. Might be an interesting idea to see, do a show about the people who have to clean up the mess left in Washington, D.C. after the Hydra takeover happened. Or have to clean up London after, Thor the Dark World trashed the whole place. I think there's an interesting premise for a series there. It just wouldn't have been my first choice. The Save Me One. With the new Fox X-Men shows, do you think they will be standalones or tie into the X-Men movie universe? Oh, God. I don't know, man. My guess is that they would be standalones. Okay, Okay, the way I heard it, they're doing 2 shows, or well, they got pilot orders for 2 shows apparently. One is going to be about the Hellfire Club, which I don't understand. You're doing a show about a group of X-Men villains instead of a show about the X-Men. I don't understand. But since we already saw X-Men, we already saw the Hellfire Club in First Class. My guess is it would be standalone because they probably want to rejigger that for a TV. Plus, they'd almost surely have to recast most, if not all, those people. So yeah, probably standalone with that. And then there's a Legion show, doing a show about David Haller. Far as I know, Xavier has not had there's been no mention of Xavier having a kid in the X-Men movies. So I assume that would be standalone as well. But that seems like two really bizarre concepts for shows. You're taken from the X-Men canon. Couldn't they just do a show about the X-Men? I mean, you got to figure at some point the movies are going to run out of gas. How many of these things have they done now? There's the original 3. There's the First Class trilogy. So that's 6, plus the Wolverine spin-off movies. There's 2 of those. There's going to be another one. So all told, I mean, including the Wolverine spin-offs, that's 9 X-Men movies. I think they would be ripe for a reboot at this point. So why not reboot them as a TV show? That'd be awesome. Okay. Yeah. Looks like that's about it. I'll give it another minute or 2. And if we don't have any more questions, we'll call it a night. Don't know what else we can talk about. Apparently, New York Comic Con was this past weekend, where audiences finally got to see the Jessica Jones pilot. And word coming out about that is that it's pretty fucking awesome. People are saying, "Oh, it's more like psychologically interesting than Daredevil was." Okay, I don't doubt that. Daredevil wasn't really a psychological show; it was more action oriented. And Jessica Jones is supposed to be a psychological thriller. So in that regard, I think it sounds like they got it right. I also think it's really cool how this is going to kind of push the envelope of adult content with Marvel shows. I read somewhere that the only guidelines were that they couldn't say the F word and they couldn't show full frontal nudity, and everything else is fair game. And they're really pushing the envelope with that. Apparently, they kept the racy Jessica Jones Luke Cage sex scene from the comics. So they're gonna show a lot of stuff here. I'm excited about it. And we already got hints of that in Daredevil. I remember my jaw kind of fell open in the Daredevil pilot when we got some Karen Page side boob when she changed her clothes. I was like, whoa. This is still the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Can they do that? Apparently they can in the Netflix shows. I guess the Netflix, the Defenders shows are their own beast. So they can go more adult oriented, which is why I think this Netflix platform is such a great thing for Marvel, because they can do new stuff. Yeah, they're really apparently they're gonna take that a step further with Jessica Jones, and I'm really fucking hyped for that. Yeah, so let's go as dark as we can with this. Why the hell not? Okay. The Save Me one. If Marvel gets the Fantastic Four back, you think they may change the name of Inhumans to Inhumans versus Fantastic Four, with that Romeo and Juliet style story with Crystal and Johnny in there? I don't think it's an if. I think Marvel have gotten the Fantastic Four back. I don't know if it's confirmed yet, but it's that's what they're saying. They traded they traded the X-Men TV rights to Fox in exchange for the Fantastic Four movie rights. I think that's pretty much a done deal. That's what I heard anyway. Because I guess they figured, well, we're not getting the X-Men rights back, which sucks because it's affecting the comics now, and they're kind of de-emphasizing the X-Men, and it's it's a whole different thing. But I would love it if Marvel could get the X-Men back, but yeah, they've got the I think they got the Fantastic Four rights back, and they've what I read is that they've got the movie the next the Fantastic Four as part of the cinematic universe would be coming in maybe 5 years, which is probably a healthy amount of time to wait after the debacle that was the most recent Fantastic Four movie, Josh Trank's Fantastic Four. Wow, that movie tanked. I mean, while I tend to think that the first 2/3 of that movie were actually okay, yeah, people hated that movie. So that's 3 shitty Fantastic Four movies in a row. 4 if we're counting the Roger Corman movie. So they're going to have a lot to deal with as far as public perception, and hoping the movie-going audience will give the Fantastic Four license another chance. That's going to be a big uphill battle. But Marvel have proven by now that they know what's best for their properties. They know how to get the right talent and the right filmmakers and the right cast together. They haven't struck out yet. Their track record is flawless, so I think they can pull it off. But it's probably best to wait a while. Just let Josh Trank's Fantastic Four and Tim Story's Fantastic Four fade from memory a little bit. You think they would change the name to Inhumans versus Fantastic Four? I don't think so. I think that would be really jumping the gun. Let's try to get an actual good Fantastic Four movie as a solo property first before we start crossing them over with the Inhumans. Yeah, Romeo and Juliet style story with Crystal and Johnny Storm in there. Well, we don't even know if Crystal's going to be in the Inhumans movie yet. I would assume she is, but that movie's still a ways off. That's still a couple years in the future. So who knows? If they start doing like big crossover pictures, then they could do the Johnny Crystal stuff. But yeah, like I said, that's a ways off. Jeff Atwood, have you watched Heroes Reborn recently? It's just an okay show at best, in my opinion. I didn't see the episode. I didn't see the episode that aired tonight. I saw all the previous ones, and I'll try to track down the most recent episode when I get a chance. But yeah, that's pretty much my opinion. It's at best just okay. Now I talked about this previously, but it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear to me that their hearts aren't really in it, and they don't have nearly the budget that they used to have. Mostly, it feels like a cheap cash grab by the producers, which is kind of a shame because under the right circumstances, I think a lot of people would give the Heroes brand another chance if it were done right. But I think if you want it done right, you probably don't want Tim Crane running things. The Save Me one, Moon Knight may be coming to Netflix as well. Really? Is that a thing? I think I talked recently. If they were gonna expand the Netflix properties, I think Moon Knight ought to be on that list. I think he'd be a perfect fit for the Netflix platform. So if that's the thing in the next phase, great. I'll watch that. Okay. That appears to be about it. And I don't really have anything else to talk about to fill time while I wait for new questions to pop up. So I think we'll call it a night there. Yeah. Okay. Good stream tonight, guys. What? When does Supergirl start up? I think Supergirl starts up either next week or the week after. So I think 2-3 weeks max, and then we'll have Supergirl to talk about. I don't think I'll be reviewing that week to week. I'll definitely talk about the pilot, but beyond that, I think I'll try to watch it. So if you guys want to ask questions about Supergirl when that starts up, go right ahead. Feel free. So we can talk about that. I just don't know if I'll be reviewing it on a regular basis because I think 3 is a comfortable number for me. I think I might just stick with that. Good talk tonight. Really enjoyed this one. Same time next week, every Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern. And I will see you guys on Wednesday for the impact discussion. Thanks for tuning in. I will talk to you then. Later.